Welcome back to Lamb's Cryptoverse. Today, I'm going to do something new that's maybe never been done. If you're lucky, you can go online and you can find a rating of a specific project or an analysis or deep dive if you're really lucky, but you don't get too many of those. So what I'm going to do is show you all how I personally rate blockchain projects, and I'm going to go through each major characteristic and or factors. So the first one I'm going to talk about is scalability, and this is the scalability that Buterin refers to when he talks about the blockchain trilemma. So obviously it's a very important rating factor. So let's get started. First of all, what the heck is scalability? And I like to go to Medium. They have good articles on this. And here they talk about, they have a title, What Does Scalability Really Mean? And in the article, if you go down, scroll down, you can see in the third or fourth paragraph, it says, for most computer systems, scalability refers to the system's capability to handle a growing amount of work. So the key word for me, which no one talks about, so when people talk about scalability, they talk about speed. But I think the key word here is growing. And then if you go on to the next paragraph, it says, however, in the domain of blockchain, the word scalability has a much broader range. And I agree with that 110%. And they also talk about, in terms of broad meaning, they're talking about throughput, latency, bootstrap time, and cost per transaction. I didn't even know that it includes cost, but it makes sense, right? Because if the cost of gas is so prohibitive in Ethereum, for example, it's really going to slow down a network. So that's like 90% of what scalability is. The only other part I wanted to talk to you about was from another Medium article, and that's in Finality. So Finality is a guarantee that past transactions can never change, that they're irreversible, that they're immutable. That's that fancy word, immutable. So that's it. That's what scalability is. But remember, when you looking at a specific project, what they're going to only talk about is speed. And it's not going to be actual speed or like empirical evidence, like actual how it's being used, whether it's beta or the mainnet is live and full use. They're going to talk about a theoretical speed, so you got to be careful with that. Remember, theoretical speed could be huge, like hundreds of thousands of TPS, transactions per second, but that's not what you should be focusing on. You should look at everything. So let me show you how I find out what scalability is. One of my main places is here, Messari. So I go to Profile, and then you go to Technology, and under here, I'm looking at Algorand, for example. So if you go, oh, it's down 6%. Well, so if you go under Technology, you're going to have to do some digging. And you can see here, it says experimental results. So there's a key word, experimental. Even if it wasn't, you got to be careful with this stuff. And it says blah, blah, blah. And here, it's not even telling you what the TPS is. It's giving you what they were able to do during one specific experiment. So I would characterize this as somewhat useless, but you can tell it's pretty fast, so at least that's giving you something. And then another place to look under Messari's research, especially if you're a paid member, then you can actually get a research article from Messari on Algorand. So let's go to the next one. Then, of course, you could always go to, I should have had it here, but I don't have it. You can go to the Whitepaper. But let's go over that. And the Whitepaper, as you know, is going to give you the theoretical speed. So we don't have an example of the Whitepaper, but just keep that in mind. And then what I wanted to focus on is this. Always go to the Explorer. And in this case, they do a great job. They don't just tell you data for the last few minutes. They actually have some historical data, so that's really good. And I think what I was looking at was transactions. Let's see, where was it? No, it was something else. I looked at it and it was just giving me the speed of the Algorand blockchain, but that's good, but it's not great. Maybe it was, no, I don't think it was under economics. But the point is, you want more than that. So if you hit transactions, you can see quite a bit of data, but then what I'm looking for is this, historical TPS. I mean, it's not a long history, but at least it's something. So you can see it's about 12 transactions per second. So that's good. And let's see what else we have here. Oh, we've got the test net here, the beta net, and you could see, more data on that. I'm sure the test net had a much higher TPS. I mean, look at this. It went up to 200, but this is doesn't go back. This is like now. Would have been nice to get it back over the last year. And then what else do we have here? I want to show you something else. Oh yeah, I want to show you the beta net, but I don't think this is going to go back either. So we want to see TPS. Yeah, so it's not too, it doesn't go back a lot, and it's not too consistent, as you can see. So that was the other thing I wanted to show you. So let's move on and go to some other data. Another very good source of data on scalability and speed is research. And here's a great example. Binance.com, the actual broker, the cryptocurrency centralized exchange, does a great job at doing a pretty in-depth review of different blockchain projects, and they seem pretty objective, even though some of them are competing with Binance, right? Because Binance has a few tokens. But I have to say, I think they do a pretty good job, and even give a summary and conclusion. And I just for the point of what I'm talking about today, I skipped over the whole research report until the section 2.6. And if you go to 2.6 to the second paragraph, you can see it says 1,000 transactions per second, and they talk about latency. And this is what I'm talking about when I mentioned earlier finality. So you want to see low finality, and this is good, sub 5 second latency. So this is good. Both are good. 1,000 transactions per second, and the finality is good. So that's really good. And also, if you look on the bottom, it talks about low fees, basically, that the network is efficient. One thing something else I want to highlight here is that if you should read the full report, because you can get more, even though this is just speed here in this paragraph, you can get more about the scalability of the project by reading the whole report, and it's in depth. I'm not going to go over it, but it's, as you can see, it's a pretty damn good report. So he talks about it, talks about what type of proof of stake it is. So here it's important, they're trying to make it decentralized, and so that's important for scalability, right? You want it to be decentralized and fast. Because a lot of times, and this goes back to what I said earlier with the blockchain trilemma, a lot of times the blockchain is scalable because it's centralized, but we want decentralized. And you can see how in-depth this report is. I had a pretty bad vesting schedule, but we're not going to talk about that. And let's just see if there's anything else that's important. Well, it's technology focused. That's what they're talking about. And here's a good example of what I'm talking about, where it's important to read the rest of the report if you're looking at scalability, because here it's talking about technology, and you can see these guys are heavyweights, these founders, with of course, the big guy over here from MIT. Where is he? Silvio Micali, the professor at MIT, co-inventor of probabilistic encryption zero-knowledge proofs. So he's a big guy. There's some other big guys here. So this is definitely a team and project to be reckoned with. Okay, so let's move on. And now, besides looking at individual research reports on the specific project, what you could do is search. And what I did is I searched for the fastest cryptocurrencies, and I got Algorand. And here it talks about it again. And what you want to see is consistency. And here they talked about an average TPS of 1300. If we recall, we talked about 1000 TPS earlier. So this is definitely in line with what we talked about earlier. And they talked about a potential capacity of 3000 TPS. And again, we talked the instant finality. So this is very good because it's lining up with what we saw before. And then we can do it again and just again and again and just get some more. And here's something from Coin Codex that gives you a nice comparison. And here it's talking about transaction speed of only 20 PPS because that's what's going on now. So that's what I'm talking about. You got to be careful with theoretical versus what's actually going on. And if you notice, the transaction finality is still low, so that's good. And it says here under scalability, more scalability. So that's very important because if you look at the other ones, Ethereum, not very scalable. Cardano, not scalable. Solana, I was surprised to see this, not very scalable for Solana. That could be a mistake. Avalanche, not very scalable. I'm not sure. I think that's scalable too. So you could see there's a lot of scalability here. And of course, internet computers is indefinitely scalable, but it's very centralized. There's a lot of controversy about that. So far, if you look at this holistically in terms of all the different research, sources of research, and there's some YouTube videos that cover this too, which I did not talk about. They all, if you put it all together, especially theoretical scalability, I can say with confidence that Algorand is indeed scalable using a full, broad definition of scalability. So I hope you enjoyed this because what I'm trying to do is give you tools so that you can research blockchain projects yourself, and that's how you gain conviction. So thank you all for coming back to Lem's Cryptoverse, and don't forget to like us. Bye-bye.